Don't get on that train. Go home. Lock yourself inside. Don't ask questions. You'll understand soon. Her voice wasn't loud. It wasn't mystical. It was steady, urgent, certain. And that certainty unsettled me more than anything else. Her fingers were cold when they pressed my phone back into my hand. I almost smiled out of reflex, the polite smile you give strangers when they overstep. Instead, I froze. My name is Myra Antonoff. I'm 29 years old. I work as a senior financial analyst, which means I trust numbers more than people. I believe in spreadsheets, not superstition. In forecasts, not fate. I do not believe in warnings whispered by strangers at train stations. And yet, I listened. The platform clock read 6:38 p.m. The 6:40 train was boarding. I was supposed to be on it. I was on my way to meet my fiancé, Caleb Whitmore, at his apartment across the river. We were finalizing wedding details that night. Seating charts. Catering contracts. Flower arrangements. Normal things. Happy things. My life was stable. Structured. Carefully planned. Caleb was everything people admired, confident, articulate, charming in that effortless way that makes rooms lean toward him. He worked in corporate strategy, always thinking 3 steps ahead. We were a power couple, according to friends. Rational. Ambitious. Balanced. Safe. So why did my pulse spike when that old woman looked at me? She wore layered navy and grey scarves, even though the evening wasn't that cold. Her hair was silver, braided loosely over one shoulder. Her eyes, that's what held me. Sharp. Not wild. Focused. Like she already knew the ending. Go home, she repeated quietly. There was no drama in her tone. Only urgency. And something else. Fear. For me. I stepped back instinctively. I'm sorry? I asked, unsure whether to laugh. Don't board. Lock yourself inside. Don't turn on lights. Stay hidden. The train doors chimed. People brushed past me. I should have walked away. Instead, a strange unease crawled down my spine. I don't make emotional decisions. But that night, I did. I turned around. 7:12 p.m. I stood inside my bedroom closet, heart hammering so loudly I was sure the entire building could hear it. I felt absurd. Ridiculous. A grown woman hiding between winter coats and old shoeboxes because a stranger told her to. I almost stepped out. Then I heard my apartment door unlock. My blood ran cold. I wasn't supposed to be home. Caleb had a key. Emergencies only, he'd said when I gave it to him 2 years ago. Back when love felt uncomplicated. Back when he kissed my forehead and called me future Mrs. Whitmore like it was a promise, not a possession. The door closed. He didn't call my name. He didn't hesitate. He walked in confidently, comfortably. Then, the sharp click of high heels on hardwood. And a woman's soft laugh. My stomach twisted so violently I had to grip the closet shelf to stay upright. They moved into the living room. I heard the familiar creak of my couch dipping under weight. 2 people. Glass clinking. Wine. He had brought wine into my apartment for another woman. For months, things had felt off. Caleb had grown distant. Guarded. Irritable. He turned his phone face down. He criticized small things, my work hours, my coldness, my habit of asking financial questions. Wedding stress, he'd say with a sigh. It changes people. I believed him. Because that's what I do. I analyze risk at work. And ignore it in love. I told you she'd be on that train, Caleb said casually. Silence. Then her voice smooth, amused. You're sure she suspects nothing, Ethan? Ethan. Not Caleb. My breath caught. Ethan Whitmore. He'd introduced himself to me as Caleb Whitmore. The name Ethan sounded almost identical. So similar I never questioned it. My chest tightened. He laughed lightly. Myra? She's predictable. She trusts me. She always takes the safe option. Predictable. The word echoed louder than their laughter. I pressed my palm against my mouth to stop myself from making a sound. And the apartment? The woman asked. I forced myself to breathe quietly. After the honeymoon, he replied. Once the paperwork clears. It'll practically be hours. Hours. Paperwork. My mind began flipping through memories. The past month. Him insisting we merge assets before the wedding. Him convincing me to move my savings into a joint investment fund he managed. Him encouraging me to update my life insurance policy. It's responsible, he'd said. We're building a future together. I hesitated. He made it about trust. About unity. About love. She has no idea what she signed, he continued. Ice flooded my veins. By the time she figures it out, it'll be too late. Too late. The woman laughed softly. You're ruthless. No, he corrected calmly. I'm efficient. Something inside me didn't shatter. It crystallized. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't a moment of weakness. This was planned. Then he said something that made my knees nearly give out. After tomorrow, she won't be a problem anymore. The woman paused. You're sure about the timing? She'll be on the 6:40, he said. I insisted. Traffic near the bridge is a nightmare. And that line's been having signal issues. The bridge. My throat closed. That train route had been in the news repeatedly. Maintenance delays. Faulty signaling systems. Safety concerns. He insisted I take it. He even checked the schedule for me. You're not worried? She asked. He chuckled. I'm not pushing her. Accidents happen. Accidents. The word echoed in my skull. Suddenly, I remembered the life insurance update he'd asked me to sign last month. Increased coverage. Him as primary beneficiary. My hands trembled, but my mind sharpened. He wasn't just planning betrayal. He was positioning himself. Grieving fiancé. Financial beneficiary. Clean hands. To new beginnings, the woman said. To freedom, he replied. And in that dark closet, something inside me changed forever. They thought I was already gone. They thought I was hours away from becoming either a tragic headline or a financially erased memory. They thought I was predictable. They were wrong. I didn't burst out. I didn't scream. I didn't confront. I breathed slowly, letting the shock burn through me until it turned cold. If Ethan believed I was on that train, he was comfortable. And comfortable people make mistakes. When I heard them move toward my bedroom, I quietly unlocked my phone. I began recording. Audio first. Then video, just a narrow crack through the closet door. Enough to capture faces. Voices. Wine glasses. Intimacy in my space. Evidence. I uploaded everything to a secure cloud folder he didn't know existed. You and your backups, he used to tease. Yes. Me and my backups. When I heard the shower turn on, I slipped out silently. Barefoot. Steady. Not shaking anymore. I grabbed my laptop. External drive. Passport. Copies of every The art of moving assets quietly, efficiently, legally. But I was the one trained to recognize manipulation. And tonight, I wasn't a fiancé. I was an analyst. The transfer queue loaded. 3 scheduled transactions. Large ones. Morning execution. Destination accounts I didn't recognize. My pulse slowed instead of quickening. Good. Sloppy. He thought I'd be on that train. He thought I'd be unreachable. He thought timing was on his side. I froze every pending transfer. Then I initiated something far colder. An internal compliance review flag. Anonymous tip submission. Suspicious activity. Possible coercion. Unauthorized beneficiary adjustments. As a senior analyst, I knew which words triggered automatic audits. Fraud. Undue influence. Financial manipulation. The system didn't hesitate. Flag received. Review pending. Temporary restriction applied. His access would be limited within hours. Next, I opened the insurance portal. Policy change history. There it was. Increased coverage. Effective immediately after marriage. Primary beneficiary, Ethan Whitmore. Secondary, none. My jaw tightened. I submitted a freeze request citing concerns of coercive pressure prior to marriage. Documentation attached. Audio clip timestamped. Then I did something colder. I drafted an email to our lawyer. Subject line, wedding postponed indefinitely. No emotion. No accusations. Just attachments. Screenshots. Transfer schedules. Audio files. At 4:06 a.m., I hit send. The sky outside my windshield had turned a faint grey. My hands finally started shaking. Not from fear. From realization. The man I loved had not just betrayed me. He had calculated my absence. At 6:38 a.m., I texted him. Myra, train delayed. Might come home instead. 3 dots appeared instantly. Stopped. Appeared again. Ethan, no need. Stay there. I'll handle dinner. Handle. My lips pressed into a thin line. Myra, I'm exhausted. Thinking of coming back. This time, the reply came too fast. Ethan, traffic is bad. Just stay. I'll call you later. Panic hides poorly. I powered my phone off. Then I waited. When I turned it back on at 9:17 a.m., the explosion was immediate. 42 missed calls. Most from him. 3 from the bank. 2 from the insurance provider. 1 from our lawyer. And a voicemail. I played it. Myra, what did you do? Ethan's voice was stripped of its smooth confidence. My access is restricted. Compliance called me. My mother just sent me a video. What is happening? My mother just sent me a video. Ah. Yes. At 7:02 a.m., I had uploaded an edited version of the footage. Blurred enough for legality. Clear enough for truth. I sent it privately to one person. His mother. Caption. Ask your son about the 6:40 train. Cruel? Perhaps. But she deserved to know who she raised. By noon, the bank had formally suspended the investment account pending investigation. His login attempts were recorded. 7 attempts in under an hour. Desperation leaves fingerprints. At 1:14 p.m., someone began pounding on my apartment door. I was inside this time. Not hiding. I opened it slowly. Ethan looked different. Not polished. Not composed. His hair was messy. His jaw unshaven. His eyes frantic. Myra, he breathed, stepping forward. We need to talk. Need. Interesting word. You misunderstood, he began immediately. It was a joke. You heard half a conversation. About accidents. I asked softly. His mouth opened. Closed. It wasn't like that. I stepped aside but didn't invite him in. Tell me something, I said calmly. If I had boarded that train, and something happened, would you have cried? Silence. It lasted only 3 seconds. But it was enough. His phone buzzed. He glanced down. And I watched the color drain from his face. Compliance escalation notice. Insurance investigation pending. Legal counsel withdrawing representation until review completed. You sent it to my mother, he whispered. Yes. She thinks I tried to. You did. The truth settled between us like concrete. You're ruining everything, he snapped suddenly. The panic cracked into anger. The wedding. The accounts. My reputation. Your reputation. Not us. Not love. Just damage control. You thought I'd be gone, I said quietly. You calculated my absence. That's insane. No, I replied evenly. It's efficient. His own word. Thrown back at him. He flinched. For the first time since I'd met him, he looked afraid. And I realized something profound. This wasn't about money. It wasn't even about betrayal. It was about control. And he had just lost it. He left without slamming the door. Without threats. Without dignity. 2 days later, news broke that the 640 line had experienced another major signaling malfunction near the bridge. No crash. But hours of delay. Investigations pending. An accident waiting to happen. I stood at my window that evening, staring at the skyline. I never saw the old woman again. Sometimes I wonder who she was. A coincidence? A stranger with intuition? Or someone who had already lost something to a man like him? I don't know. But I listened. And because I did, I was still alive. Still solvent. Still in control. I thought it would end there. Accounts frozen. Lawyer withdrawn. His mother in tears. His mask cracked. I underestimated one thing. Men like him don't collapse quietly. They pivot. The first sign came 3 days later. An unfamiliar number called at 8:12 a.m. I ignored it. It called again. Then a voicemail. Ms. Antonoff, this is Detective Harris with Financial Crimes. We need to speak with you regarding a complaint filed under your name. My stomach tightened. Complaint? I hadn't filed one officially. Only compliance flags and internal review requests. I called back. Ms. Antonoff, the detective said calmly, your fiancé, Caleb Whitmore, has alleged unauthorized access and malicious financial interference. Caleb Whitmore. Not Ethan. My chest went cold. That's his name? I asked carefully. Yes, I closed my eyes. It clicked. Ethan Whitmore was the name he used socially. Professionally. But legally? Caleb. He had always introduced himself as Ethan. Even at our engagement party. Even on our save the dates. The wedding invitations. All Ethan Whitmore. I had never once seen his passport. Never asked. Because why would I? We were getting married. I hung up with the detective after calmly agreeing to provide documentation. Then I did what I should have done years ago. I ran a background check. Not the surface-level ones people casually browse. The deep search. Corporate filings. Alias records. Litigation history. It took 2 hours. And when the report loaded, my hands went numb. Caleb James Whitmore. Formerly. Caleb James Whitman. Legally changed 5 years ago. 2 prior dissolved engagements. 1 civil lawsuit filed by a former fiancé. Settled out of court. Reason listed, financial misrepresentation and coercive asset transfer. My heart didn't break this time. It hardened. This wasn't improvisation. It was a pattern. At 3:47 p.m., he showed up again. I didn't open the door. I know you're in there, Myra, he called through it. Silence. You think you're smarter than me? Still silence. You have no idea what you've stepped into. That made me pause. Stepped into. Not what you've done. What you've stepped into. I opened the door just enough to see him. You filed a complaint, he said, eyes sharp now. No panic. Just calculation. No, I replied calmly. You did. His jaw tightened. You think a few recordings make you untouchable? I think patterns do. Something flickered in his eyes. You ran my name, he said quietly. Yes. For the first time, he didn't deny anything. He smiled. Not warmly. Not apologetically. Admiringly. That's why I chose you. The words made my skin crawl. Chose me? You're intelligent. Financially stable. Careful. It's a challenge. A challenge. Like I was a project. A conquest. You miscalculated, I said. No, he replied softly. You deviated. The air between us turned heavy. You weren't supposed to go home. There it was. The truth. Not rage. Not heartbreak. Just disrupted strategy. Who is she? I asked. He didn't hesitate. Her name is Lila Marin. Lila. The woman in my living room. The one who toasted to freedom. She knows everything. I asked. He shrugged. Enough. Is she the next me? A small smirk. Don't flatter yourself. That was answer enough. That night, I couldn't sleep. Not because I missed him, but because I realized something darker. The old woman at the station. The urgency in her voice. Had she seen him before? Had she watched another woman board that train? I returned to the station the next evening. Same time. 6:38 p.m. She wasn't there. But someone else was. A woman about my age stood near the ticket machine, staring at her phone with trembling hands. I recognized the look. Confusion. Doubt. Fear disguised as denial. A man stood a few feet behind her. Charming smile. Calm posture. Dark coat. My breath caught. Caleb. Or Ethan. Or whatever name he was using now. He hadn't seen me yet. He was watching her. Encouraging something softly. She nodded uncertainly. The train doors chimed. My body moved before logic could stop it. Don't board, I said firmly. The woman turned to me, startled. What? Go home, I said. Check his name. All of them. Caleb's head snapped toward me. Our eyes locked. For 1 second, his expression wasn't anger. It was admiration. Then irritation. You're unwell, he said smoothly to the woman. We should go. She hesitated. I held her gaze. Search Caleb James Whitmore, I said clearly. And Whitman. Her fingers trembled as she typed. The train doors closed without her. Caleb stepped toward me, voice low. You're playing a dangerous game. No, I replied calmly. I'm ending one. He leaned closer. You think exposure stops men like me? Not entirely, I admitted. But patterns eventually catch up. He studied me for a long moment. Then he smiled faintly. You were almost perfect, he said. Almost dead, I corrected. His smile faded. He turned and walked away. Alone. The woman approached me slowly. Is it true? She whispered. Yes. Her eyes filled with tears. Thank you, she breathed. And suddenly, I understood something. The old woman. Maybe she had once been me. Maybe someone had warned her too late. Maybe she had simply seen the signs in him that I refused to see. I may never know. But I know this. He hunts stability. He hunts trust. He hunts predictability. And the moment I stepped off that train platform, I stopped being predictable. It's been 6 months. The investigations are ongoing. His professional licenses are under review. 2 more women have come forward. Lila left him. Apparently, efficiency loses its charm when exposed. I moved apartments. Changed locks. Changed more than that. I no longer mistake control for love. I no longer ignore discomfort to preserve peace. And I no longer dismiss warnings that make my skin crawl. Sometimes I still hear that woman's voice in my mind. Don't board. Go home. Lock yourself inside. She didn't just save my life. She gave it back to me. 6 weeks after the station confrontation, I received the email I had been waiting for. Subject: Formal investigation outcome, Whitmore case. I didn't open it immediately. I sat at my kitchen table, new apartment, new locks, new silence, and let the moment settle into my bones. 6 weeks ago, I had been hiding in a closet. Now I was waiting for a legal verdict. Growth doesn't always feel triumphant. Sometimes it feels quiet, controlled, measured. I opened the email. The compliance investigation had confirmed irregular asset transfer attempts, undisclosed alias usage, and suspicious beneficiary structuring. The insurance provider had voided the recent policy increase pending fraud review. The joint investment account was permanently dissolved and funds restored solely to me. And then one line made my breath pause. Evidence submitted has been forwarded to the district attorney's office for further review. Further review. It wasn't revenge. It was consequence. Ethan, Caleb, whatever his real self was, did not call anymore. He sent legal notices instead. Claims of defamation. Emotional distress. Damage to professional reputation. They were hollow. Because documentation does not tremble. Facts don't panic. People do. My attorney, a composed woman named Rhea Morgan, skimmed his filings and smiled slightly. He's bluffing, she said. Men like this rely on intimidation. When that fails, they perform outrage. Will he face charges? I asked. That depends on how many women speak. That sentence stayed with me. How many women speak? 2 days later, one did. Her name was Natalie Vance. She requested to meet in person. We sat across from each other in a quiet cafe, both pretending we weren't studying the similarities in our stories. He proposed after 11 months, she said, hands wrapped around her coffee cup. Merged finances before the wedding. Encouraged life insurance updates. My chest tightened. Did you sign? I asked gently. I hesitated, she admitted. He grew cold after that. I nodded. That was the pattern. Affection. Acceleration. Financial entanglement. Pressure. Isolation. Control. When she left, she squeezed my hand. If you hadn't stepped in at the station, she whispered. Her sentence trailed off. I didn't let her finish it. Because I knew how it ended. 3 weeks later, there was a hearing. Not criminal yet. Preliminary. Pattern establishment. I didn't expect him to show. He did. Perfect suit. Perfect posture. Controlled expression. If someone walked in without context, they'd see a successful, composed professional unfairly accused. He saw me before I saw him. He gave a faint smile. Not warm. Not apologetic. Strategic. As if we were competitors at a negotiation table. Inside the room, testimonies were presented. Audio clips. Transaction timelines. Alias records. 2 additional women submitted sworn statements. His attorney argued coincidence. Misinterpretation. Relationship misunderstandings. But patterns don't lie. And the word accident played in court carries a different weight than in a living room. When it was my turn to speak, I stood without trembling. I am not here because he cheated, I said calmly. I am here because he structured financial vulnerability under false identity and positioned himself for gain under foreseeable harm. Silence filled the room. Even he looked slightly impressed. Because he knew it was accurate. After the hearing, he approached me in the hallway. No criminal charges yet, he said quietly. You overplayed your hand. I met his eyes evenly. I'm not playing. He studied me for a long moment. You loved me, he said. I loved who you performed. His jaw tightened. You think you won? No, I replied calmly. I survived. That landed harder than any insult. Because men like him measure success in dominance. And survival denies them that. A month later, the charges came. Attempted financial fraud. Identity misrepresentation. Coercive financial structuring. It wasn't dramatic. No handcuffs in public. No television crews. Just quiet legal machinery moving forward. He tried to negotiate settlement. Silence from me. He tried to intimidate through legal pressure. Silence. Eventually, his corporate license was suspended pending resolution. The companies that once admired his efficiency distanced themselves. His mother sent me a letter. Handwritten. Apologizing. Not defending him. Not asking forgiveness. Just acknowledging truth. That closure surprised me more than anything. The final confrontation happened unintentionally. 3 months after charges were filed, I saw him again at the station. Same platform. Same time. 6:38 p.m. He stood alone this time. No woman beside him. No soft laugh in the background. Just him. When he noticed me, he didn't smile. He walked over slowly. You've changed, he said. Yes. You're colder. No, I replied. Clearer. A train roared past, wind whipping around us. For what it's worth, he said quietly, you were the only one who almost impressed me. Almost. I looked at him steadily. You didn't lose because I exposed you, I said. You lost because you underestimated the person you tried to control. For a moment, something flickered in his expression. Not remorse. Recognition. Then the train doors opened. He stepped back. Goodbye, Myra. Goodbye. Not threatening. Not charming. Just finished. I watched him bored. This time, I stayed on the platform. 6 months later, I moved cities. Not out of fear. Out of choice. I started consulting independently, helping women review prenuptial agreements, joint accounts, asset protections. Not as revenge. As prevention. Sometimes clients ask why I'm so thorough. Why I insist on background checks before financial merging. Why I say, love does not require urgency. I just smile. Because once, I stood inside a closet listening to my own future being negotiated like a transaction. Once, I almost boarded a train someone else calculated for me. Once, I believed predictability was safety. Now I know better. Safety is awareness. Control is not love. And intuition, when it burns cold in your spine, is data. I never saw the old woman again. But sometimes, when I pass through stations, I scan the crowd. Not searching for her. Searching for women who look uncertain. And when I see one, I don't dramatize. I don't frighten. I just say quietly, go home. Check everything. Because sometimes survival begins with stepping off the train. The investigation didn't explode overnight. It moved quietly. The bank confirmed attempted unauthorized transfers. The insurance company froze the beneficiary change. 2 more women came forward after seeing the internal report. The pattern was undeniable. Charm. Fast commitment. Financial merging. Pressure. Exit strategy. Ethan, whose legal name was Caleb Whitmore, tried to settle privately. He offered money in exchange for silence. Myra refused. At the hearing, audio recordings were played. After tomorrow, she won't be a problem anymore. In a courtroom, that sentence felt heavier. He wasn't charged with attempted murder. But he was charged with financial fraud and identity misrepresentation. His professional license was suspended. His corporate clients distanced themselves. He didn't look angry. He looked inconvenienced. During recess, he told Myra quietly, "You could have walked away." She answered calmly, "I did. And then I made sure no one else boards that train." He didn't smile this time. And for the first time, he walked away without control. After the case became known in private legal circles, more stories surfaced. Natalie had almost signed life insurance papers. Clara had already transferred her savings. Both said the same thing. He made it feel like love. Myra started helping them organize documentation. She sat at kitchen tables, reviewing contracts, highlighting hidden clauses. It wasn't revenge. It was protection. Each woman who stepped forward weakened him more than any courtroom ever could. Because his power depended on silence. And silence was breaking. Months later, Myra saw him at the station again. Same platform. 6:40 p.m. He stood alone. No woman beside him. No soft laughter. He approached slowly. "You changed," he said. "I woke up," she replied. "You ruined my career. You built it on manipulation." He looked at the tracks. "You were the only one who stepped off." "Yes," she said. "And that's why I'm still standing here." The train arrived. He boarded. This time, she didn't even watch him leave. She turned around first. A year later, Myra moved cities. Not because she was afraid. Because she wanted a life not shaped by survival. She started consulting privately, helping women understand financial agreements before marriage. Her rule was simple. Love is not urgency. Love is transparency. Sometimes, when she stands at train stations, she watches people carefully. If she sees hesitation in someone's eyes, she doesn't frighten them. She simply says, "Go home. Check everything." And she walks away. Myra never saw the old woman again. But she understands now. The warning wasn't about the train. It was about being predictable to someone who calculated her absence. She didn't just survive betrayal. She disrupted a pattern. And sometimes, that is the real victory.